And the more that you start opening up, I mean, I experienced the sexual abuse and adoption, and especially on the sexual abuse side, that I didn't talk about that until I was like 27 years old. And I remember the first day I had to talk about that, right, to my now wife, and just sitting in the car crying. I remember sitting in the car crying because now I felt like I had to text my friends because I felt like I wasn't being honest with myself or with them, and feeling all these emotions. You know,
Right.
I
And
was at
beating
work on
yourself
my way to,
up, right?
yeah,
Beating yourself up for
100%.
being vulnerable.
But now I tell that story more comfortably because I know that it's not just about me. It's about every other person that may be experiencing this to this day, and allowing them to see that there is the other side. I mean, you're in the space of that, right? And being in these groups, you're in the spaces of that. Is that you guys? The more that can have this conversation, the more people we can ideally help. I mean, 1 in 3, that's a crazy number to really think of,
Yeah.
and then to you say someone in my own community has experienced that, that goes that 1 in 3, right? Like, I
There
can
we go.
imagine you said small community, like it's not like there's a lot of people in there, so it is definitely very scary to even think about. So I even raise my own kids. What's been one of the most surprising things you probably learned about prevention that many people won't even know?
I mean, honestly, I think it's what I shared earlier. The fact that if we can delay initial use, the outcomes are so much better. And like
Yeah.
the evidence is compelling and overwhelming and undeniable. Um, and I've heard these conversations too. I'm gonna, my kids know this. I'll admit it. I drank in high school. I drank plenty.
Mhm.
Letting kids, the whole like, well, I let them drink at home because it's safer, right? I'd rather them drink at home than drink out, with friends or in a field. Drinking at home, it's not an ideal setup. And I think if parents and modeling good behavior is important too.
Yeah.
Again, if we had to do it all over again, I would probably drink. My other two children are not. Neither one of them really consume substances. I have a son who's a pilot, and he really can't for
Yep.
legal reasons.
Yep.
And my daughter is a college swimmer, and it just doesn't really work well for her training. But neither one of them have much of an appetite for it,
Yeah.
which is great. And I'm sure the fact that they lost a brother when they were 16 and 19
Mhm.
has a big part to play with in it also. But if I had to do it all over again, I would really kind of just change my approach to, in our case, alcohol. We don't use other substances. Um, and encourage them to not use. It's just it's so important. And raising healthy kids is the most important thing we do as parents.
Yeah, like you mentioned, just the modeling the behavior, like if it's happening at home, it actually quite, even just cigarettes in general. I think about
Same.
cigarettes.
Yes.
When I think about, I see parents, dads like myself, that are walking around with a 4 or 5 year old and smoking a cigarette. And I think to myself, like, okay, you smoke a cigarette, but you can't do that and by yourself outside, like really exposing kids. And of course they're going to see it, but we are those role models in our
Yeah.
kids' lives.
They're always
You know,
watching, right? They're always
and
watching.
and kind of what you mentioned is when we say something, they can care less. What they see, for some apparent reason, feels a little bit more enticing to them. Like, wait a minute, I just seen him do that. Let me do that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is one of those. Even for myself, I try to be very mindful, even of the language I speak around my kids.
Oh gosh,
Right.
yes, absolutely.
Because even that, like any little thing could be something that the kids pick up, and we
That's
got to be
right.
very, yeah, very mindful as leaders. I think what you've done to kind of leave this corporate world, go into this more of a nonprofit impact space. There's a lot of cultural investment. Um, what kind of what kind of dog is it?
He is a 95-pound mutt who is 6 years old and will greet anyone who comes to the door with hugs and kisses. He is just massive.
I love
And
it.
we love him big
I
time. Apologies for that.
Oh man, that's a night. I lost mine actually. Man, time's flying. Probably a year and a half ago. I had a pit bull.
And he's
And I
part,
would never,
yeah.
yeah, I would never forget the morning. There was like, we knew my dog wasn't doing well. I mean, my dog was 13, 14 years old, so lived a good life. But wasn't doing well. We woke up this morning. I know this is completely off topic, but we woke up. I was going to sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning, like I told you, right? Like I told you, that's just times I go to sleep. And I would go and let the dog out, and just she wouldn't leave my side. Very weird. I'm like, okay, so almost kind of like had to scoot her outside, like go outside before we go to bed. She just kind of stood there. So I said, okay, come back inside. And as I was going to bed, she laid right in front of my daughter's door. And then we wake up in the morning, and it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and my wife is like, I smell something. Obviously, the dog had, went inside, pooped inside. So I'm like, oh my God. So I'm 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, we can't just let it sit there. I gotta wake up. But then I realize I'm cleaning, and I'm like, with the vacuum and all this, I'm like trying to move her, and she's not moving. And I can see her eyes are still open, but she just had no energy in
Yeah.
herself. So I almost kind of like had to pick her up. And as you mentioned, these dogs are super heavy. Pick her up and move her, but she was just like almost like dead weight. And then as I look at her gums, are becoming really like pale white. I'm like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. Right? I had this dog since she was like 3 weeks,
Oh,
and my wife gets on the floor, and as soon as my wife gets on the floor, my dog puts her head on my wife's lap, and that was her last breath. 6 o'clock in the morning is how I wake up. And of course, I'm bawling, crying, like I'm, oh my God, and we
but what
take
a
her to the
lovely
doctor.
way to transition for that dog, right with her head
Yeah,
in its lap. Oh.
yeah, yeah. And it was sad. It was sad probably more sad for me than ever. But to this day, a year and a half later, we have like the paw print, and we have like this card with the hair in it and stuff like that. And my daughter in the fridge, my daughter's like, I miss Della. Her name was Della. I miss Della so much. And I'm like, but Della got to see us from being just boyfriend and girlfriends to moving out to getting married to having kids to buying a house. I'm like, this dog was really there for
Hmm.
every step of the way. I mean, times when me and my wife are not seeing eye to eye, the dog is still there. There's something about a dog. I love dogs, but when I hear dogs, it's a cool thing. But after this, I'm done. Okay, when my dog passed away, I got another dog, a little rat terrier that just barks at anything and everything that moves. Um, but I'm like, I'm done. I got 2 young kids, and I gotta take care of these dogs. Kristen,
You're
I
not
don't know
done.
how.
You're not done. You're a dog person. You're not done. You're
I
not.
know, I know. I love dogs. What was that big we talked about? We were just talking about it before the dog started to interrupt the conversation here. What is the dog doing? Now, what is your biggest cultural adjustment when moving from that corporate training to the nonprofit addiction work? Do you feel like there was really an adjustment that took place?
Yes, in a good way. So, I mean, I consider myself decent at kind of situational awareness, I'll call it.
Okay.
So recognizing that maybe not everybody is go 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 go, and I went from a startup to this organization, and don't get me wrong, people at Partnership to End Addiction work hard, they work long, so it's not that, but it's just it's such a different culture. It's much more collaborative and coordinated than competitive. And even, with the startup, like, oh, we're all on the same team. There's still a lot of backbiting, and it's still corporate. It's just, it's not
Yeah.
as it's not a mission driven. And corporations like to say, well, they are mission driven. We are truly mission driven.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to end the addiction crisis. We're going to reach 21.5 million people by
Love it.
2030 who need our services. Like, that's a mission.
Yeah.
So it's just, it took me a little bit of time to like, okay, the way in which I present, I need to kind of ratchet it back. And I now that I've been here a minute, I'm like, maybe this is what I always should have been doing. Maybe I kind of remodeled myself for corporate because I work hard here and I come to work every day, grateful and be proud. And not that
Mm.
I've had corporations that I've worked for that I am very proud of, but nothing like this.